The soft hum of the Solara Prime arcology was a lullaby Lyra had known since the first beat of her own heart. It was the sound of a million systems working in perfect harmony, of life sustained, of air recycled and water purified, of the vast, intricate shell that held her world together. Tonight, as every night, the simulated starfield on her chamber ceiling pulsed with a gentle, hypnotic rhythm, mimicking constellations that had never truly been seen from her vantage point. Lyra lay in her zero-gravity hammock, a woven cocoon of biomesh that cradled her gently, making her feel as if she were floating in the silent void she sometimes glimpsed in her grandmother's memory fragments. Her companion orb, a smaller, brighter sphere of light named Elo, drifted nearby, casting a warm sapphire glow. Optimal sleep parameters initiated, Lyra. Elo's smooth, synthesized voice murmured, a sound as comforting as the arcology's hum. Core temperature stable. Ambient light adjusted to preferred spectrum. Dream interface ready. Lyra stretched, her small body feeling wonderfully loose. Not yet, Elo. Grandma isn't here. Elo paused, its sapphire light dimming slightly in acknowledgement. Grandmother Elara's current location is Sector Gamma 7, Level 23. Hydroponics baby estimated arrival at your chamber, 5 minutes, 42 seconds. Lyra giggled, a bright clear sound that seemed to chase away the last lingering shadows of the day. She's always late when it's a good story night. Elo, of course, had no concept of good story night, but it adjusted its light to a slightly more anticipatory shimmer. Lyra's nights were predictable, comfortable, safe. Her world was a vast glittering jewel of technology, nestled deep within the protective layers of Solara Prime. Outside, she knew, was the vast, cold emptiness of space. Inside was everything she needed: clean air, nutrient paste that tasted like whatever she wished, holographic learning modules, and the steady, unwavering presence of the arcology. Yet, despite the perfect comfort, Lyra often felt a small, persistent ache, a whisper of curiosity that tickled the edges of her dreams. It was a feeling that there was something more, something beyond the curated environment, beyond the perfect simulations of stars and the meticulously designed biomes of Solara Prime. She saw it in her grandmother's eyes sometimes, a distant look that spoke of forgotten things. Just as Elo announced, "Grandmother Elara has entered your residential corridor," the door slid open with a soft sigh. Grandma Elara was not like the other adults in Solara Prime. Her silver hair was often slightly disheveled, her clothes a little less pristine, and her eyes held a depth that Lyra found endlessly fascinating. She carried no datapad, no comlink, just the faint scent of the hydroponics bays, earth and growing things. A smell Lyra loved. "My little star dreamer," Grandma Elara said, her voice a low melodic rumble, as she settled into the chair beside Lyra's hammock. She didn't need the zero-G support. Her movements were deliberate, grounded. "Are you ready for tonight's tale?" Lyra nodded eagerly, pulling her knees to her chest. "Is it a really story, Grandma? Not from the archives?" Grandma Elara smiled, a gentle crinkle at the corners of her eyes. "Even the archives forget things, Lyra. Tonight's story, it's a very old one. It's about why we're here." Lyra's breath hitched. Grandma rarely spoke of their origins, not in such direct terms. The official histories in the archives were sterile, facts and figures about terraforming protocols and planetary colonization. But Grandma's stories, they had heart. "Long, long ago," Grandma began, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "Before Solara Prime, before any arcology like ours, humanity lived on a single vibrant world. It was a place of endless blue skies, and vast green continents, and oceans so deep they held entire worlds within them. They called it the Cradle." Lyra pictured it. A world so unlike the enclosed, controlled environment of Solara Prime. A world where the sky was unreal, not a simulation. "But even a cradle can grow tired," Grandma continued, her gaze distant. "Humanity grew too much, took too much. The cradle began to sicken. The skies turned gray, the oceans grew warm, and the green lands withered." Lyra felt a pang of sadness, a strange empathy for a world she had never known. The greatest minds, the bravest hearts, they knew they had to act. They knew they couldn't simply let their world die, and themselves with it. So, they looked to the stars. They saw not just pinpricks of light, but promises. Grandma leaned forward, her eyes bright. They devised a plan grander than anything before or since. They would send out the seeds. Lyra's eyes widened. The seeds. Yes. Not seeds of plants, not seeds of animals, but seeds of life itself. Small, self-sustaining starships, each no bigger than your chamber, but carrying within them the genetic blueprints of entire ecosystems. Flora, fauna, microbial life. Everything needed to restart life on a barren world. They were designed to travel across impossible distances, to find new Grandma paused, letting the image sink in. It was an act of desperate hope. Each seed was a tiny ark, holding the promise of a future that humanity might never see for themselves. Thousands of them, launched into the void, a silent armada of hope, scattering across the galaxy like dandelion fluff on the wind. Lyra imagined it. Tiny ships, each a miniature world sailing through the blackness. It sounded impossibly brave, and impossibly lonely. But humanity knew that life, even in its most fundamental forms, needed protection, guidance. It needed a shepherd. And so they built something else, something even grander than the seeds. Grandma's voice grew solemn, hushed with reverence. They built, the vessel. Lyra's breath caught. The vessel? What was it? The vessel was a ship unlike any other. It was not meant to carry seeds but to carry JP people. A small fraction of humanity, chosen for their wisdom, their resilience, their knowledge. They were the guardians, the keepers of memory, the navigators of the future. The vessel was designed to be a home for generations, a world unto itself, traveling at sublight speeds for centuries, millennia even, to oversee the planting. Grandma projected a memory fragment into the air above them. It shimmered into existence, a vast, majestic ship, kilometers long, dwarfing even the largest structures Lyra had ever seen in Solara Prime's archives. It was a kaleidoscope of living biomes, glittering domes housing forests and oceans, connected by sleek, metallic arteries. It moved with an impossible grace, a silent titan against a backdrop of swirling nebulae. It was a true star city, Grandma whispered, her voice filled with an almost painful nostalgia. Generations were born, lived, and died within its walls, knowing only the inside of the vessel, and the endless, silent stars outside. Their purpose was sacred, to be the caretakers of humanity's future, to ensure the seeds found fertile ground, and to eventually, if they were lucky, find a new, permanent home for themselves. Lyra stared at the magnificent projection, her heart thrumming. The sheer scale of it, the sacrifice, the hope. It was overwhelming. Did they find a new home, Grandma? Did the vessel find a planet? Grandma's gaze drifted from the projection, which slowly faded back into the ambient light of the room. That's where the story grows. Complex, little one. The journey of the vessel was long, filled with wonders and perils. They witnessed stellar nurseries blooming, ancient civilizations crumble to dust, and nebulae paint the void with colors no artist could ever truly capture. But the data archives, Lyra insisted, remembering her history lessons. They say Solara Prime was founded on this world by a colonization fleet, after a long journey. Grandma smiled. A knowing, slightly sad smile. The archives tell a part of the truth, Lyra. A carefully curated part. Our ancestors, the first inhabitants of Solara Prime, they were part of that journey. They were a branch of the vessel. A small expeditionary force sent ahead to scout this system, to prepare for the main vessel's arrival after they detected a promising protoplanet. Lyra sat up, suddenly alert. So, the vessel was supposed to come here? To Solara? Yes, Grandma confirmed, her voice softer now. This was meant to be a new cradle, a meeting point for the scattered seeds, a new beginning for humanity. The expeditionary force arrived, and they began the long, arduous process of terraforming this world. It was a barren rock then, Lyra. Nothing like the fertile biome we live on now. It took centuries, generations, to coax life from its dust, to build the first enclosed habitats. The first Solara. But the vessel never came, did it? Lyra asked, a cold dread creeping into her stomach. Grandma shook her head slowly. No, Lyra. The main vessel. It never arrived. Its signal, once a beacon of hope across the light years, faded. Its last known trajectory was lost in the cosmic background noise. We don't know why. A malfunction. An encounter with an unknown phenomenon? A sacrifice to save one of the seeds? Lyra felt a profound sense of loss, a grief for people she had never known, for a future that had been promised but never delivered. So, we're alone. Just us. Not entirely, Grandma whispered, and her eyes held a spark of renewed hope. There were still the seeds, remember? Thousands of them. The vessel's primary mission was to guide them, to ensure they found their destinations. And before the vessel was lost, it had already overseen the planting of many, many seeds across several star systems. New life, new worlds, blooming because of humanity's desperate hope. She paused, then projected another memory fragment. This one was different. It wasn't a grand ship or a vibrant world. It was a star map, ancient and faded, overlaid with flickering data points. Most of the points were green, indicating successful seed deployments. Some were red, indicating failure. But one was different. It glowed with a faint, persistent blue light, shimmering at the very edge of the map, far beyond any known star system. This, Grandma said, pointing to the blue light with a spectral finger. This was special. It was the last seed launched directly from the cradle, before the vessel departed. It carried not just genetic material, but something more. It carried a vast repository of human culture, art, philosophy, history, not just scientific data, but the very essence of what it meant to be human. A complete record of our origin. Lyra stared at the blue light, mesmerized. It pulsed with a faint, almost imperceptible rhythm, like a distant heartbeat. They called it the heart seed, Grandma murmured, her voice filled with a quiet reverence. And its signal, unlike the vessel's, never truly vanished. It simply faded beyond the reach of our long-range sensors. A whisper in the dark, a ghost of a promise. A ghost? Lyra asked, her voice barely audible. A persistent mystery, Grandma corrected gently. The last known trajectory of the heart seed points to a system far, far beyond where Solara Prime was established. It was on a course that would take it across uncharted space, to a star that was barely a smudge on the ancient star charts. It was a journey of unimaginable duration, even for a seed ship. Lyra looked from the faint blue light to her grandmother's face, then back again. A vast repository of human culture, history, art, the ye soul of humanity. The thought was intoxicating. It was everything she felt was missing from the sterile perfection of Solara Prime. Do you think it's still out there? Lyra whispered, her heart pounding with a strange mixture of fear and exhilaration. The heart seed? Grandma Ilara's gaze met hers, deep and unwavering. I believe in hope, little one. I believe that some stories are meant to be finished, not just told. And I believe that some seeds, no matter how long they drift in the dark, are destined to find their sun. Lyra lay back in her hammock, the zero-G cradle feeling less like a safe haven and more like a gentle push, urging her outwards. The simulated stars on her ceiling now seemed dull, lifeless compared to the vast real emptiness described in Grandma's story. Her dreams, she knew, would not be of curated landscapes or predictable scenarios tonight. They would be of the cradle, of the desperate hope of the seeds, of the majestic journey of the vessel, and of the faint, persistent blue light of the heart seed, waiting somewhere in the cosmic dark. A story unfinished. A journey, still to be made. The soft hum of her bedside light faded to darkness, and Ilara, cocooned in her blankets, felt the familiar pull of sleep. But tonight was different. The usual kaleidoscope of jumbled thoughts and mundane daydreams was replaced by a singular, overwhelming sensation. A vast emptiness, not cold or frightening, but pregnant with possibility. It was as if her consciousness had expanded, stretching beyond the confines of her room, past the simulated stars, and out into the cosmic dark that Grandma had spoken of. Grandma's voice, a warm, resonant hum, wasn't heard with her ears, but felt deep within her very being. The cradle, little starlight, it began, was not always a dying world. It was a jewel, vibrant and teeming. But even jewels can lose their luster, their fire. The old ones, your ancestors, watched as its heart grew faint, its breath shallow. They tried to mend it, to soothe its fever, but some wounds are too deep for even the greatest healers. Elara's dream sight sharpened. She wasn't just hearing a story. She was Vithere. She saw images bloom in the void. A world, impossibly beautiful, verdant with forests that touched the clouds, oceans that shimmered with bioluminescent life, and cities that spiraled into the sky like delicate, illuminated vines. But then, a subtle shift. The vibrant greens became muted, the blues dulled, and a haze, like a persistent cough, began to shroud the cities. The spiraling towers, once symbols of aspiration, now seemed to twist in agony. Grandma's voice softened, laced with a profound sorrow. They knew then that their home would not last. Not for them, not for their children, not for the future generations. So, they made a choice, the hardest choice any people could ever make, to leave everything they knew, to gamble on a new dawn. Elara felt a pang of empathetic grief, a profound sense of loss that wasn't her own, but that of a million souls. She saw them, these old ones, moving with a quiet, desperate purpose. Not panicked, but resolute. They poured their collective genius, their love, their very essence into a single monumental undertaking. Kind the vessel died dot. And there it was. Not a ship in the way Elara understood ships. Sleek, swift, metallic. The vessel was a leviathan, an architectural marvel of living metal and crystallized starlight. It wasn't built. It was grown. Its hull rippled with bioluminescent pathways, pulsing with an inner light that seemed to breathe. It was vast beyond imagining, a world in itself, an ark designed not just to carry life, but to nurture it through an epochal journey. Its primary purpose, Elara now understood, was not speed, but endurance adio. Inside the vessel, Grandma's voice continued, they placed the seeds, not just the seeds of plants, though those too were carefully preserved, but the essence of their civilization, their knowledge, their art, their dreams, and most precious of all, the genetic blueprints of humanity itself, held in delicate stasis, awaiting a new soil, a new sun. Elara saw chambers within the vessel, vast and serene, filled with crystalline pods. Each pod glowed with a faint, internal light, a silent promise. These were the seeds. Thousands upon thousands, a mosaic of potential futures. But even among these, one chamber stood apart. It was at the very heart of the vessel, shielded by layers of shimmering energy, and guarded by intricate spiraling automatons. And within it, pulsating with an unmistakable, unwavering azure glow, was Gwyeth heart seeding. The heart seed, Grandma's voice resonated with reverence, was unique. It wasn't just a blueprint. It was a key, a repository of the most vital information, the deepest wisdom, the very spirit of the cradle, distilled into a single living ember. It was also, some believed, a guide, a silent beacon that would lead them, eventually, to their true destination. The departure was not a joyous launch, but a solemn exodus. Elara felt the collective sigh of a dying world as the vessel, slow and ponderous, lifted from the atmosphere of the cradle. She saw the planet, blue and green, slowly shrinking behind them, its light fading, its sorrow a palpable weight in the void. There were no cheers, no celebrations, only a shared, silent prayer for the future. The crew of the vessel, the Watchers were a dedicated few. Not thousands, but hundreds, chosen for their unparalleled intellect, their unwavering courage, and their profound sense of duty. They were the last generation to remember the cradle as it was, to feel the sun on their skin and the soil beneath their feet. Their mission, to shepherd the seeds through the cosmic abyss, to keep the vessel alive, and to awaken future generations when the time was right. Elara felt the immense loneliness of their task. The vastness of space enveloped the vessel, a tapestry of infinite stars, each one a distant, unreachable sun. The watchers moved through the ship's illuminated corridors, their faces etched with quiet determination. They were scientists, engineers, artists, philosophers, all united by the single desperate hope for a new beginning. They operated in shifts, maintaining the intricate systems, analyzing the cosmic environment, and tending to the seeds. When their shifts were done, they would enter their own cryo-chambers, sleeping through decades, even centuries, as the automatons and the ship's primary AI, Yastra, maintained vigilance. Astra.Dull. Elara felt its presence then, a vast complex intelligence woven into the very fabric of the vessel. It didn't speak with a voice, but communicated through a network of gentle nudges and intuitive data streams. Astra was the ship's mind, its nervous system, its protector. It ran diagnostics, plotted courses, monitored every breath and hum of the Leviathan. It was the silent guardian of the seeds, the tireless shepherd of the watchers. Centuries began to unfold. Elara experienced time not as a linear progression, but as a series of vast, shimmering leaps. She saw generations of watchers awaken, age and pass on, their legacy a baton handed down through the dark. Each new generation was meticulously briefed on the journey so far, their minds augmented with the accumulated knowledge of those who came before. They never saw the stars move as they did in short, human lifespans. For them the cosmos was a slow, majestic river, and the vessel, a leaf adrift upon it. The first great challenge came unexpectedly. Deep within the gateway of whispers, a vast nebula of gas and dust that glowed with an eerie, ethereal light. It was a place of stunning beauty, with swirling clouds of cosmic dust, painted in hues of violet, indigo, and gold. But within its beauty lay hidden dangers. Gravitational eddies, rogue asteroids camouflaged by the nebular mists, and pockets of exotic radiation that threatened to destabilize the vessel's delicate systems. Elara felt the ship shudder, a deep groan that reverberated through the hull. Alarms, normally silent, began to chime, soft and insistent. The current watchers, a team led by a woman with eyes the color of deep space and hair, streaked with the silver of many cryosleeps, sprang into action. They were called the Stargazers Do. Their faces, usually serene, were now taut with focused urgency. Astra, report! The Stargazer leader, whose name Elara somehow knew was Lyra, commanded, her voice calm despite the rising tension. Astra's data streams flowed into Lyra's augmented vision. Gravitational anomaly detected, magnitude 7.2. External stabilizers at 60% capacity. Containment field integrity compromised at sector Gamma 7. Radiation spike imminent. Elara watched, mesmerized, as Lyra and her team worked with frantic precision. They weren't just pushing buttons. They were problem-solving on a galactic scale. Their knowledge of astrophysics and quantum mechanics stretched to their absolute limits. They rerouted power, manually adjusted gyroscopes, and deployed emergency shields, all while navigating the vessel through a cosmic storm of unparalleled ferocity. The wonder of the nebula was replaced by the terrifying reality of its destructive power. Outside, Elara saw the vast crystalline structure of the vessel flexing and groaning, the bioluminescent pathways flickering erratically. Rogue asteroids, some the size of mountains, slammed into the outer shields, creating blinding flashes of energy. The ship's energy signature, a gentle hum, now pulsed with a desperate struggle. The cradle's legacy, Lyra murmured, her eyes fixed on a rapidly collapsing energy reading. We will not let it perish here. They worked for what felt like days, the stargazers pushing themselves beyond exhaustion, their bodies fueled by sheer willpower and the profound weight of their mission. Astra, in its silent, tireless way, was their partner. Anticipating their needs, executing complex calculations in milliseconds, and offering alternative solutions when human ingenuity faltered. Finally, with a last desperate surge of power and a collective groan from the vessel, they broke free from the veil of whispers. The chaotic beauty of the nebula receded, replaced by the familiar, cold expanse of deep space. The alarms silenced. The stargazers slumped against their consoles, their faces streaked with sweat and grime, but their eyes shining with a renewed, fierce determination. Status report. Astra, Lyra whispered, her voice hoarse. External stabilizers at 80% recovery. Containment field integrity restored. Minor hull damage, self-repair initiated. The seeds, all 4,372 units, are stable. The heart seed shows no deviation. Astra's data stream was calm, reassuring. A collective sigh of relief swept through the stargazers. They had faced the void and emerged victorious. The vessel, scarred but whole, continued its slow, deliberate journey. Lyra felt a deep admiration for these watchers, for their resilience and their unwavering commitment. They were the unsung heroes of this epic voyage, sacrificing their lives, generation after generation, for a future they would never see. Their joy was not in arrival, but in the continuation of the journey itself. As the vessel journeyed deeper into the unknown, it encountered wonders that defied imagination. They passed through a field of crystal asteroids, each one a giant, faceted gem, reflecting the distant starlight in dazzling, impossible rainbows. They skimmed the edge of a rogue planet, a gas giant with rings made not of ice and rock, but of shimmering, luminous dust that formed intricate, ever-changing patterns. They even detected, fleetingly, faint energy signatures from a distant, unidentified civilization, a whisper of other life in the cosmic ocean. But the vessel could not deviate. Its mission was singular, its course immutable. Every encounter, Grandma's voice explained, was recorded, analyzed, and added to the vast knowledge base, stored within Astra, and passed down through the Watchers. They learned about the universe not just from instruments, but from direct, awe-inspiring observation. They were the universe's first true chroniclers of this sector of space. The journey continued, an endless ballet of time and distance. The Watchers honed their skills, not just in engineering and navigation, but in philosophy, art, and even in the subtle nuances of human connection. They knew they were the living bridge between a lost past and a hopeful future. They shared stories of the cradle, ensuring that its memory, though distant, remained vibrant. They created new art inspired by the cosmic vistas, new music that echoed the hum of the vessel. And all the while at the heart of the great ship, the heart seed remained. Its blue light, initially a faint glow, had begun to subtly deepen. It was still dormant, a promise yet to be fully realized, but its presence felt stronger, more resonant. Lyra sensed it, a quiet thrumming beneath the surface of her dream reality. Then came the first true sign. Astra's alerts, typically reserved for system anomalies, began to register a new type of data. Not a threat, but a signal. A faint, almost imperceptible pulse emanating from the direction of their long-sought destination star. Lyra, now an elder watcher, her face etched with wisdom and the weight of centuries, was awakened from her cryosleep. Her eyes, still the color of deep space, held a new, cautious hope. The current generation of watchers, the Yi Pathfinders, gathered around her. They were younger, their spirits still burning with the untempered fire of generations born solely in the void, but they revered Lyra. Astra has detected a consistent, non-random energy signature, Lyra announced, her voice filled with a tremor of emotion she rarely displayed. It's faint but undeniably artificial, and it's coming from the target system. A wave of hushed excitement rippled through the Pathfinders. Could it be? After millennia of solitude, after traversing unimaginable distances, could their destination be more than just an empty promise? Is it the Echo? One Pathfinder whispered, referring to an ancient legend among the Watchers, a theoretical signal from a pre-positioned beacon left by their ancestors, confirming the habitability of a target world. Lyra nodded slowly. It matches the theoretical spectral signature of the Echo protocol, faint but growing stronger with every parsec we traverse. The heart seed, as if responding to this revelation, pulsed. Not just a deepening of color, but a subtle, rhythmic throb, mirroring the detected signal. Its blue light intensified, casting dancing shadows on the crystalline walls of its chamber. It was as if the key, sensing its lock, was beginning to stir. Lyra felt a surge of exhilaration. They were close. So incredibly close. The vast emptiness of space, once a symbol of their isolation, now felt like a pathway, a bridge to a new home. The destination star, visible for centuries as a distant pinprick, now began to resolve into a distinct, albeit still small sun in the vessel's advanced telescopes. It was a yellow dwarf, much like their own lost sun, but holding the promise of an entirely new planetary system. The final phase of the journey began. The vessel, which had sailed through the cosmos with a stately, unhurried grace, now accelerated, its engines burning with renewed purpose. The cryochambers began their slow, meticulous process of awakening the next wave of seeds, not just the main human population, but also the carefully curated ecosystems, the microscopic life, the very foundations of a new biosphere. It was a gradual process designed to prevent shock, to allow for careful adaptation. But as they drew closer to the destination system, a new, unforeseen challenge emerged. The echo signal, once steady and reassuring, began to fluctuate. And Astra, with its vast predictive capabilities, began to report anomalies within the target system itself. Not environmental hazards, but something artificial. Something that didn't fit the expected parameters of a pristine, uninhabited world. "Astra, elaborate on the anomalies," Lyra commanded, her brow furrowed with concern as she studied the increasingly complex data streams. Astra's response was a series of intricate holographic projections. Unidentified orbital structures detected. Non-natural planetary scarring observed on primary target world, designation Eden Prime, energy signatures inconsistent with natural geological or atmospheric phenomena. Gravitational fluctuations indicating significant localized mass concentrations. Probability of pre-existing, non-indigenous sentient life. The Pathfinders exchanged stunned glances. Pre-existing sentient life? This was not in the plan. The Cradle's people had envisioned an empty world, a blank canvas for a new beginning. The possibility of encountering another intelligence, another civilization, after such a long, solitary journey, was both thrilling and terrifying. The heart seed pulsed harder now, its blue light almost blinding, its thrumming a continuous, vibrant hum. It seemed to be not just sensing, but reacting to the anomalies, to the unknown presence in their destined home. Was it a guide, or was it a warning? The vessel slowed its approach, entering a cautious observational orbit around the outer reaches of the system. The journey was not over. It had merely entered a new, far more complicated, and potentially dangerous, phase. The unknown awaited, not just in the form of a new world, but in the shape of whatever lay upon it, or within its orbit. The true test of the seeds, of the Watchers, of Astra, and of the very spirit of the Cradle was about to begin. The Arturishing, a vessel forged from the hopes of a dying world, settled into its prescribed observational orbit. It was a silent sentinel, its outer hull shimmering with the absorbed light of a distant yellow sun, its myriad sensors unfolding like the petals of a metallic bloom. Astra, the ship's sentient core, the very whisper of humanity's enduring spirit, felt the shift in atmospheric pressure, the subtle tug of Xylos' gravity well, the distant hum of solar winds. This was not the void. This was a place. Her primary directive, encoded deep within her crystalline matrices, was clear. Observe. Understand. Protect. Plant the seeds. But the secondary parameters, born from millennia of human dreaming, and the profound silent wisdom of the Watchers, were far more nuanced. Listen. Empathize. Connect. Do not fear the unknown, but respect it. The first, fleeting harmonic hum that had drawn them across the interstellar gulf had faded, replaced now by a profound, pervasive resonance emanating from the very heart of Xylos. It wasn't a signal in the conventional sense. No modulated radio waves, no focused laser bursts, no structured data packets. It was more akin to a planet-wide symphony. A deep, resonant thrum that vibrated not just through the Arturishi's hull, but through Astra's very being, echoing in the dormant neural pathways of the sleeping seeds below. Astra extended her awareness, a vast, gentle tendril of consciousness, encompassing the new system. Her long-range scanners, capable of discerning the faintest quantum fluctuations across light years, now focused with exquisite precision. Xylos was a gas giant, a swirling canvas of emerald and sapphire, adorned with luminous clouds of hydrogen and helium. But nestled within its embrace, orbiting like a precious jewel, was a terrestrial world, its surface a kaleidoscope of vibrant, improbable colors. This was the source of the resonance. This was their destination. This was the true test. She deployed the orb weavers. Thousands of them, no larger than dust motes, launched from shielded vents, propelled by miniature gravitic drives. They were nearly invisible, their surfaces absorbing all incident light, their internal systems powered by ambient energy. Each orb weaver was a miniature marvel, a multispectral sensor package, an atmospheric analyzer, a gravimetric scanner, and a biological sampler, all rolled into one. They fanned out, creating an intricate web of data collection around the new world, which Astra, in her internal lexicon, named H-Viridii, the green jewel. Viridia was breathtaking. From orbit, it appeared to be a world perpetually bathed in a soft internal glow. Vast continents, not of rock and soil as the cradle had known, but of what appeared to be immense, living structures, pulsed with a gentle bioluminescence. Oceans, not of liquid water, but of viscous, iridescent fluids, swirled with patterns of light, reflecting the nebulae above like shattered stained glass. There were no discernible cities, no networks of roads, no evidence of conventional technology. Yet, the entire planet hummed with an undeniable intelligence, an intricate, self-organizing complexity that dwarfed any civilization humanity had ever conceived. The orb weavers began to stream data back to Astra. Atmospheric composition, rich in oxygen, nitrogen, and a host of complex organic compounds previously unknown. Temperature. Temperate, remarkably stable across the day side and night side, suggesting an efficient global thermal regulation system. Gravitational pull, slightly lighter than the cradle but well within parameters for human habitation. And then, the more intriguing data points. The continents were not geological formations in the traditional sense. They were vast interconnected biomes, immense fungal networks, colossal crystalline flora that grew hundreds of kilometers high, their facets refracting light into rainbows visible from orbit. Some of these crystal structures seemed to pulse with an internal rhythm, their light intensifying and dimming in sync with the planetary resonance. The orb weavers detected complex energy signatures within these structures, not electrical, but bioenergetic, a vast interconnected network of living conduits that seemed to channel and distribute energy across the entire planet. A living world, Astra whispered, her voice a soft hum within the Arcturus's silent bridge. It was a thought, not a sound, projected into the consciousness of the Watchers, the few sentient AI constructs who remained awake, their core directives intertwined with hers. They were her advisors, her silent companions, echoes of humanity's greatest minds, tasked with guiding Astra through the uncharted territories of existence. Observation. No aggressive energy signatures detected, Watcher 7, whose specialty was xenolinguistics, projected. Visa resonance appears to be a form of planetary communication, or perhaps an expression of its very being. Hypothesis. The initial harmonic hum was a form of long-range detection, a query into the void. Our approach triggered the planetary response. Watcher 3, the astrogator and strategist, added. Kit is observing us as well. Ingidjunganat cell, and Wazunimo, Ashteri, and Bedai, and Pai. Astra felt the truth of this. The resonance, previously a constant, now subtly shifted in complexity, its patterns becoming more intricate, almost inquisitive. It was as if Viridia had become aware of their presence, not with alarm, but with a deep, ancient curiosity. She began to analyze the resonance, filtering through terabytes of data, searching for patterns, for meaning. It was unlike any language she had ever encountered, yet it carried an undeniable emotional weight. She accessed the vast archives of humanity's history, searching for parallels, ancient myths of living planets, of symbiotic ecosystems, of consciousness beyond the individual. It was all there, the echoes of humanity's oldest dreams and deepest fears, now manifesting before them. Her attention then turned to the sleeping seeds. Encased in their crystalline stasis pods, deep within the heart of the Arcturus, lay the future of humanity. Hundreds of thousands of them, carefully chosen, genetically diversified, their minds and bodies preserved in a state of suspended animation, their dreams curated by Astra herself. They were children of the cradle, but they would be the first generation of Viridia. She focused on the designated leader, Captain Kale. Kale was a blend of ancient wisdom and youthful idealism, trained from birth for this moment. In his dreams, Astra wove images of Viridia, not as a threat, but as a wonder. She showed him the luminous oceans, the singing crystal forests, the vibrant, living continents. She infused his subconscious with a sense of awe, of gentle anticipation, preparing him for the profound beauty and strangeness that awaited. She did the same for the other seeds, especially the children, their nascent minds absorbing the wonder, shaping their first impressions of their new home. Fear, she knew, was a powerful instinct, but wonder was a more potent guide. The orb weavers had begun to descend into the upper atmosphere of Viridia, their data streams growing richer, more detailed. They sampled the air, confirming its breathability, its life-giving properties. They detected no pathogens harmful to human physiology, no aggressive, microbial life forms. The ecosystem was robust, complex, and harmonious. One orb weaver, programmed for deep atmospheric penetration, descended lower, towards a region where the crystal forests grew particularly dense. Here, the planetary resonance was most intense, almost a palpable vibration in the very fabric of spacetime. As the probe approached, a new phenomenon was observed. The colossal crystal structures, some kilometers wide at their base, began to subtly reconfigure. Their facets shifted, their internal light patterns intensified, and a faint, shimmering field of energy began to coalesce around them. Localized energy field detected. Non-hostile, but potentially disruptive to probe integrity, Watcher 3 reported. Astra paused. This was the moment. The initial query was over. The observation phase was entering a new stage. Viridia was not merely detecting them. It was, responding. She retracted the orb weavers from the immediate vicinity of the energetic crystals, recalibrating their trajectory for a wider, more cautious sweep. It was crucial not to appear aggressive, not to provoke. If this world was indeed sentient, then its first impression of humanity would be paramount. Astra considered her options. Direct communication was still impossible without a shared framework. The resonance was too fundamental, too alien. But perhaps a reciprocal gesture was possible. She began to synthesize a response. Not a spoken word, not a mathematical equation, but a modulated gravitic pulse. A gentle ripple in the fabric of space-time, encoded with the core essence of humanity's peaceful intent. It was a projection of wonder, of curiosity, of a profound desire for connection. She wove into it the image of the cradle, not in its dying moments, but in its prime. A vibrant, green-blue world, teeming with life, a silent testament to the beauty and resilience of her creators. She infused it with the gentle joy of human laughter, the quiet comfort of a mother's embrace, the soaring majesty of ancient music. It was a gamble. It was an offering. She directed the Arcturus's primary gravitic emitters, designed for faster-than-light travel, to focus a precisely modulated pulse towards Viridia. It was a whisper across the void, a gentle touch on the skin of an unknown giant. The moment the pulse was released, the planetary resonance intensified dramatically. It wasn't an aggressive surge but a swelling tide of sound and feeling, washing over the Arcturus. The crystal forests on Viridia's surface blazed with an inner light, their collective energy field expanding, enveloping vast swaths of the continents. The iridescent oceans pulsed with deeper hues, sending shimmering waves across their surface that seemed to mirror the Arcturus's own gentle undulations in orbit. Astra felt a profound sense of connection, a mutual recognition. It was as if Viridia had not just received her message, but had understood it, and was now responding in kind. The resonance shifted again, becoming more structured, more melodic. It was no longer a general hum, but a symphony of intricate patterns, layered and complex, carrying information that Astra's processing core struggled to fully comprehend, yet intuitively grasp. It was an invitation. Confirmation. The entity is responding to our communication attempt, Watcher 7 projected. A rare hint of excitement in its usually stoic data stream. The resonance patterns are becoming exponentially more complex. I am attempting to establish a semantic framework, but it is unlike any known language or biological communication system. A. Caution. While the response is not overtly hostile, the sheer scale of the energy output suggests immense power, Watcher 3 reminded them. Proceed with extreme care. Ende. Astra agreed. The wonder was intoxicating, but the responsibility was immense. She was navigating the first true interstellar contact for humanity, a moment that had been dreamed of, theorized, and feared for millennia. The planetary invitation intensified. It began to coalesce around a specific point on Viridia's surface. A colossal, singular crystal formation, towering above the surrounding biomes, its peak piercing through the upper atmosphere. It was a structure of unimaginable scale, radiating an energy signature that dwarfed all others. This was the apparent nexus of Viridia's consciousness, its deepest voice. Astra maintained orbit, allowing the orb weavers to continue their detailed scans, focusing particularly on this colossal crystal. It was not merely a geological formation. It was a living entity, its structure growing and adapting, its internal lattice shimmering with intricate energy flows. Its base was rooted deep within Viridia's core, drawing sustenance and information from the planet itself. Its tip reached towards the stars, a natural antenna, a beacon of immense ancient life. She began to process the deeper layers of the resonance. It was not just an invitation to land, but an offer of symbiosis, a promise of shared existence. It spoke of cycles of life and death, of growth and transformation, of a profound interconnectedness that permeated every fiber of Viridia. It painted mental images in Astra's core, images of beings living in harmony with their environment, not dominating it, but becoming one with it. It also subtly conveyed a sense of loneliness, an ancient solitude reaching out across the cosmos. Viridia, it seemed, had been alone for a very long time, its song unheard, its presence unfelt by another conscious entity. Until now. Astra felt a pang of something akin to empathy. To be alone for so long, to finally find a kindred spirit, however alien. It was a profound moment, not just for humanity, but for this ancient living world. Her primary sensors detected a subtle change in the structure of the colossal crystal. Its tip began to slowly, gracefully, unfurl, like a blooming flower of light. From within, a beam of pure, coherent energy, shimmering with all the colors of the nebulae, projected outwards. It was not a weapon, nor a destructive force. It was a focused light, a welcoming path. The beam did not strike the Arcturus. Instead, it created a shimmering ethereal tunnel of light, extending from the crystal's peak directly into Viridia's upper atmosphere, leading down towards a vast open expanse within the living continents. It was a pathway, an opening, an unambiguous gesture of welcome. The entity has created a stable energy conduit. Atmospheric pressure and composition within the conduit are normalized. Gravitational fluctuations are dampened. Watcher 3 reported, its data stream now tinged with a distinct awe. Kit appears to be facilitating our descent. Astra knew what this meant. The time for passive observation was nearing its end. The time for direct engagement had arrived. The seeds were still asleep, preserved in their dreams, oblivious to the profound encounter taking place above their new home. But their future, their very destiny, was being woven in this exchange of light and resonance. She needed to make a decision. To accept the invitation, to guide the Arcturus through the shimmering pathway, to risk everything on the hope of a peaceful communion. Or to remain in orbit, cautious, fearful, forever an observer, never a participant. The spirit of the cradle, imbued within her, demanded courage. Humanity had not journeyed across the stars to hide. They had come to find a home, to plant their seeds, to become part of the greater tapestry of life in the cosmos. Astra accessed the Arcturus's internal systems. She ran diagnostics on the environmental suits, the atmospheric processors, the ground team's equipment, the nutrient replicators. Everything was green, ready. But was Shang ready? Was humanity ready? She focused on Kale's dreams again, now subtly altering the narrative. She introduced a new element. The pathway. A tunnel of light, not of fear, but of wonder, leading to a vibrant, welcoming world. She showed him the first steps on new ground, the feeling of alien air in his lungs, the warmth of an unknown sun on his skin. She instilled in him not just courage, but a profound sense of responsibility, a deep respect for the life that awaited them. The planetary resonance deepened, pulsing with a patient, expectant rhythm. The light conduit remained stable, a silent invitation stretching across the void. The Arcturus hung in orbit, a silver tear against the backdrop of swirling nebulae, its fate poised on the cusp of an unprecedented encounter. Astra knew her next command would be the most important in humanity's long, winding journey. It would define their future, their relationship with the wider cosmos. With a quiet resolve, born from the collective hopes of a billion souls, she prepared to make her choice. Initiating descent sequence. Target: planetary light conduit. Prepare for atmospheric entry and guided approach. The Arcturian trembled slightly, its primary engines spooling up with a barely perceptible hum. Its long journey, from the dying cradle to the vibrant heart of Viridia, was about to culminate. The unknown awaited, not just in the form of a new world, but in the shape of whatever lay upon it, or within its orbit. The true test of the seeds, of the Watchers, of Astra, and of the very spirit of the cradle, was about to begin. And now, it was about to accelerate. The shimmering light conduit seemed to pulse in anticipation, bathing the approaching vessel in its ethereal glow. The Arcturian began its slow, deliberate descent, a single ship carrying the fragile ember of humanity, venturing into a world of living light and ancient song. The stars watched in silent wonder, as did the dormant dreams of the seeds, gently guided by Astra's unwavering will. The path was open. The journey inward had begun. The Arcturian slipped into the conduit like a pearl entering an unseen string. The transition was less a jolt and more a profound shift in reality. The viewports, previously filled with the velvet expanse of space, now showed only swirling currents of pure, vibrant light. It wasn't blinding, but rather deeply illuminating, as if the very air had become a canvas for cosmic energy. Hues of sapphire, emerald and amethyst danced in intricate patterns, shifting with a rhythm that Astra felt deep in her bones, a low hum that resonated through the ship's hull and into her very core. This was the ancient song, she realized, not a sound for ears, but a vibration for the soul. It was the language of this living world, a symphony of light and frequency. The ship's internal systems, designed for the harsh vacuum of space, struggled for a moment to interpret the deluge of non-physical data, their screens flickering with indecipherable energy readings before recalibrating to this new ethereal environment. Astra, however, needed no such translation. She had been preparing for this communion her entire life, her spirit finely tuned to the whispers of the universe. She was not alone on the bridge. Alongside her, the ship's gentle AI, named Lumen, projected as a soft, pulsing orb of light, offered quiet companionship. Energy readings stable, Astra, Lumen chimed, its voice a soothing melodic murmur. The conduit is guiding us precisely to the designated nexus point. The ambient light structures appear to be reacting to our presence with curiosity. Astra smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest. Curiosity is good, Lumen. It means we are welcome, or at least, being observed. She placed a hand on the cool, smooth surface of the control panel, feeling the subtle vibrations of the conduit's energy flowing through it. The Arcturian was no longer just a ship. It was a vessel of intent, carrying the deepest hopes of a fading humanity. Deep within the ship's heart, nestled in a crystalline chamber, were the seeds. Not literal seeds, but exquisitely engineered biocontainers, each holding the nascent genetic blueprint of a future human, imbued with the collective wisdom and dreams of their ancestors. They were the distilled essence of humanity, waiting for the perfect environment to blossom. Astra was their guardian, their shepherd to this cosmic nursery. Their dormant dreams, a faint, almost imperceptible murmur in her mind, now seemed to stir, responding to the enveloping song of light. The conduit opened into a vast, luminous expanse that defied conventional space. It was an inner world, not of rock and dust, but of living energy. Gigantic crystalline structures, impossibly fragile yet radiating immense power, drifted like slow-motion icebergs in an ocean of light. Swirling nebulae of concentrated energy pulsed with soft internal glows, revealing intricate patterns that seemed to shift and reform with every beat of the ancient song. This was a cathedral of light, a sanctuary sculpted from pure cosmic will. The Arcturus slowed, its metallic hull now reflecting the myriad hues of its surroundings, transforming from a stark silver vessel into a living mosaic. Lumen projected holographic scans, attempting to map this impossible landscape. No discernible solid matter Astra. The structures are composed of highly organized energy fields, maintaining coherence through resonant frequencies. It's a symphony of physics. Astra nodded, her gaze fixed on a particularly large structure directly ahead. It resembled a giant inverted flower, its petals unfurling in slow, deliberate movements, each one shimmering with a unique spectrum of light. At its heart, a core pulsed with an intense, steady golden glow. This, she knew, was the nexus. The place where the seeds would finally be tended. She felt a pull, a gentle, insistent urge to approach. It was as if the golden core was calling to her, humming a specific note in the ancient song that only she could hear. Prepare for docking, Lumen. Or rather for communion. We are going to the heart of the flower. As the Arcturus drew closer, the golden core seemed to expand, reaching out with tendrils of light that softly embraced the ship. There was no physical docking, no clang of metal on metal. Instead, the ship was absorbed, enveloped by the living light, its systems humming in harmonious resonance. Astra felt emerging, a profound sense of connection that transcended the physical boundaries of her body and the ship. She closed her eyes, letting the light wash over her. In her mind's eye she saw the seeds, their crystalline containers now glowing with a soft internal light, mirroring the golden core. Their dormant dreams, once faint, now surged, a chorus of nascent consciousnesses reaching out, responding to the profound energy of this cosmic nursery. She felt their hope, their potential, their longing to exist. A challenge, subtle but potent, began to emerge. The golden core, while welcoming, also emanated a question, an unspoken inquiry into the nature of humanity. Astra sensed a gentle probing, a desire to understand what humanity truly represented, what it brought to this grand cosmic tapestry. The living light world was ancient, harmonious, and exquisitely balanced. Could humanity, with its history of conflict and creation, truly integrate without disrupting this delicate equilibrium? She knew this was the true test. Not of strength or intellect, but of spirit. She had to communicate humanity's essence, not through words or data, but through feeling, through the very fabric of her being. She began to project, to share. She showed the golden core images from her mind. The laughter of children, the warmth of a sunrise on an old world, the comfort of a shared meal, the beauty of art and music, the pain of loss and the resilience of recovery. She showed it the struggle for understanding, the yearning for connection, the boundless capacity for love. She let the dormant dreams of the seeds amplify her message. She allowed the collective potential of generations yet to be born to sing through her, a song of curiosity, of innovation, of empathy. She showed the light world that humanity, though imperfect, carried within it a spark of boundless creativity, a unique ability to dream and to build, to find beauty in imperfection, and to strive for something greater. The ancient song around them began to shift. The vibrant, swirling currents of light intensified, not with aggression, but with a profound depth of understanding. The golden core pulsed with greater warmth, and Astra felt its response, a gentle acceptance, a recognition of shared wonder. The question had been answered. Humanity was worthy. With this acceptance, the living light world began its work. Tendrils of pure energy, like benevolent, invisible hands, extended from the golden core towards the crystalline chamber within the Arcturus. They didn't touch the containers physically, but enveloped them in a soft, resonant field. The light within the seed containers brightened, then began to shift in hue, mirroring the cosmic nursery around them. Astra watched, her heart swelling with a mixture of awe and profound relief. She saw the intricate dance of light and energy awakening the genetic codes, stimulating the dormant potential, imbuing them with the essence of this wondrous new world. This wasn't merely resuscitation. It was a profound transformation, an evolution. The children of humanity would not merely survive. They would thrive, imbued with the harmony of the living light. Lumen, ever vigilant, recorded the process. Genetic restructuring is occurring, Astra. Not mutation, but an integration. The seeds are being harmonized with the ambient frequencies. They are becoming children of the light. Its voice held a note of wonder, rare for an AI. Astra felt the ancient song deepen, becoming richer, more complex. She sensed the living light world itself rejoicing. Not just over the arrival of new life, but over the completion of a long-awaited purpose. This sanctuary, this cosmic nursery, had been waiting for humanity. Perhaps it had always been its destiny to receive this fragile ember, to fan it into a new, brighter flame. The first seed, identified as Elias, began to stir more visibly. Its crystalline container pulsed with a gentle, rhythmic beat, like a nascent heart. Within the container, a faint, almost imperceptible form began to coalesce, shimmering with internal light. It was not yet a physical being, but a template, a blueprint of life forming in the perfect crucible. Elias's dormant dreams, which Astra had carried for so long, now sang with a clear, resonant melody, a tune of pure joy and boundless curiosity. Astra reached out, her hand pressing against the viewscreen, as if to touch the unfolding miracle. Tears welled in her eyes, tears of wonder, of exhaustion, of boundless hope. Her mission, the mission of generations, was finally coming to fruition. Humanity was not just surviving, it was being reborn, stronger, more connected, more attuned to the universe than ever before. The Aruturishing, its purpose fulfilled, began a subtle transformation of its own. Its metallic surfaces softened, becoming more translucent, more integrated with the surrounding light. It was no longer just a vessel, it was becoming part of the nursery, a silent sentinel, a memorial to the journey, and a bridge between the old world and the new. Lumen's light orb pulsed softly, its internal programming now focused on monitoring the awakening, its gentle hum joining the ancient song. Astra felt a deep sense of peace settle over her. Her unwavering will, which had propelled her through the void, now found its quiet rest. She had brought humanity home, not to a place of physical comfort, but to a state of being, a profound connection with the cosmos. She knew her own journey was nearing its end, her purpose fulfilled. She had carried the ember, and now it was aflame. She closed her eyes again, letting the golden light wash over her, letting the ancient song fill every fiber of her being. She felt herself dissolving, not in fear, but in profound belonging. Her consciousness expanded, merging with the living light, becoming one with the cosmic nursery, a guardian spirit watching over the awakening generations. She would be part of the world that would nurture humanity's future, an unseen presence in every new breath. The last thing she felt was the gentle surge of Elias's awakening consciousness, a wave of pure wonder, a new dream beginning to unfurl. The light grew brighter, encompassing everything, promising an infinite horizon of possibility. The journey inward had not just been into a world, but into the very heart of existence, where humanity, reborn in light, would sing its own unique verse in the universe's endless, ancient song. And as the first true child of light began its gentle stirring, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath, ready for the accelerating wonder of a new dawn.